Hi everyone, welcome to another Swag Frog video. If you're new to the channel, welcome, good to have you here. Today I will be talking about just a few good Conquest teams that are going to help you get through some of those more challenging nodes and help you get to the end of Conquest. A couple things I should say before we get into it: data discs are very important. You will need to farm the right data discs in order to clear many of the Conquest nodes with relative ease. Another quick thing is that I am going to be talking about teams that are relatively easy to get. Some of these are a little bit challenging, but with the introduction of Lightspeed bundles, it has made it a lot easier to get a lot of these teams up and running, so I am taking that into account. I am also not doing any Galactic Legends, as I feel like that is a little bit of cheating, as those do take quite some time to get. So, with that out of the way, let's get right into it. So, my first top pick is the Commander Luke Skywalker team. If you've watched any of my streams, I do gush about this team quite a lot. They are very good. One thing that makes them so excellent for Conquest is whenever they are getting or dishing these detrimental effects or debuffs per se, they're going to be getting turn meter, and then whenever they're getting hit, Luke Skywalker is going to get turn meter. So not only are they resilient to debuffs and great at catching up, but they also apply a lot of debuffs and form a turn meter train, making it difficult for the opponents to get turns in. So even at relatively low gear, they can be functional in even the highest level of Conquest. I use them frequently for my hard mode Conquest, so they are a fantastic team to farm. And with the introduction of the new raid currency system, Han Solo is quite easy to get, and you can unlock Chewbacca as well as C-3PO quite early on, especially with the introduction of the new Lightspeed bundles, giving you a couple of bounty hunters as well as the full Ewok team in order to get C-3PO unlocked and get Chewbacca unlocked. The Commander Luke Skywalker has also come from the Secrets and Shadows bundle, so all in all, it's a much easier team to farm than it used to be. This is one I would look at heavily, as it does counter several good Conquest teams. Next up, I'm going to talk about Phoenix. The Phoenix Squadron is excellent with the introduction of Captain Rex, and Conquest is no exception for them, especially with the introduction of the Zealous Ambition data discs, which are going to provide tons of offense based on support heroes' max health to said support heroes. Namely, Captain Rex is a support hero. And so if you do have some data discs that help buff up his max health, even without them, he is still very, very strong. But with the extra offense, it's going to make his AoE pretty much one-shot basically any team you can come up against. Though the real kicker here is that his unique is going to make him and all Phoenix allies very resilient to debuffs that are going to be frequently spread around, as well as it will give him turn meter, so he also has a good catch-up mechanic, and the team is just very durable based on Kanan and Chopper's unique abilities, which do help around getting and healing max health and stuff of that nature. Not to mention, the Phoenix allies will all come to assist whenever any one of them uses a special ability, so not only are they resisting a lot of debuffs and being very durable, but they also do dish quite a bit of damage on their own, even without the Zealous Ambition data discs. Next up, this one may be just a touch controversial, as some people do find this farm to be quite difficult, but with the introduction of the Gas Lightspeed bundle, I feel like it is a lot more attainable to do. Gas is excellent in Conquest, especially with the data disc Protection Shielding, as Protection Shielding is going to give allies a certain amount of their protection recovered every single time an ally is crit. What this is going to do is it's going to make Gas very difficult to knock down, as these Conquest units are going to have a very high critical chance, and with Gas as leader, he will not be able to drop below 0% health. No allies will, and if they crit him, they're not going to be able to make him sit down, thus making the team pretty much invulnerable except for to insta-kills and the off chance that he does get knocked down with a non-critical hit. This is going to make them incredibly durable and once again pretty much impossible to kill, so it can get through some very challenging Conquest nodes. The clones are all very easy to farm. The only really pinch point here is that Gas himself is quite difficult, but once again, with the introduction of the Gas Lightspeed bundle, it is going to be a lot more attainable for you to actually farm him. Another sort of turnoff here for both the Gas farm or the Gas team and the CLS team is that they both do require a fair amount of Zetas before becoming quite usable, so just keep that in mind. Next up, I do really like the Sith in terms of conquest. You can use pretty much whatever Sith as long as you have Treya, Nihilus, and I would like Savage. He is quite durable in this team. The thing about this team is, once again, they are going to be pretty durable to debuffs thanks to Treya's unique, which is going to dispel them for her, and it's also going to, it hurts them a little bit, but still, they will get offense as well as a few other stats throughout the battle, but they are very resilient to debuffs, and it makes them quite hard to kill. Another really good thing is in those pesky teams, such as Canderous Ordo, who's going to be assisting a lot, it will also deal max health damage, 35% of his max health every time he does come out to assist. Though it cannot kill him, it will still absolutely shred his health, making the team a lot easier to take down. This is really good against teams like, once again, Canderous Ordo, but as well as the Rebel Fighters team, which does love assisting, so just keep your eyes out. Once again, this team does hinge off of two specific Zetas on Treya, but it is much more Zeta cheap than most others, as well as farming this team is going to give you a fantastic team for Grand Arena, and if you already have them farmed, feel free to use them in Conquest. They are pretty good. Another team is First Order. The First Order is fantastic. Mostly I like them for Hux. His Zeta is going to turn off turn meter gain, which can make some of those really pesky teams a lot easier to get through. This team can feel a little bit flimsy in the higher levels of Conquest, so do keep that in mind, but in the easy to normal modes of Conquest, they are very consistent, and it makes, especially with protective shielding, it makes Crew very difficult to kill, as he's going to be regaining max health as well as regaining protection every time he is hit and critically hit. This team can also ramp offense pretty well with Sith Trooper, but once again, they are just a very difficult team to get through, so they can prove pretty well early on. Just the mostly disclaimer for First Order is that they do lose a little bit of their viability as you do go up those Conquest tiers. But they can lead into SLKR, and you may already have them off of the bundles, so they're a pretty good team to use for those earlier Conquests. My next pick is General Grievous Droids, which if you did buy the Padme bundle like me, you should have all but General Grievous up to Relic 5, which is going to be fantastic for this team. The thing about this team is they do have an excellent catch-up mechanic in B2. Magna Guard will pre-taunt. He will not pre-taunt, but he taunts pretty easily when he counterattacks. But when droids are getting hit, there is a decent chance that B2 is going to get a bonus turn, which is going to make the Separatists team run, as he does also get turn meter and give turn meter based on him applying debuffs. It's this ability right here. Whenever he inflicts a debuff, all other Separatist allies will gain 5% turn meter, which he can do with his AoE. He can get quite a lot of debuffs down and supply a lot of turn meter to the team, making them run a pretty good turn meter train. Another good thing is the Droidica damage immunity, which is going to be very, very good in a lot of different circumstances. It will also heal and dispel his debuffs, so Grievous is also going to stack max health throughout the battle and make him hit way harder as the battle does lead on, so the longer they're running that turn meter train, the easier it is for them to kill enemies. This team can be a little bit shaky when you do get into the harder modes of Conquest, but in early Conquests they will go right through pretty much any team. Another really good pick for me is the Empire team. So this team heavily hinges on applying a lot of debuffs with Mara Jade and Darth Vader. The Thrawn and Ninth Sister are kind of just placeholders in here. Thrawn can be switched out for a lot of different things, as well as Ninth Sister can be switched for, I like to put in a pre-taunting tank, such as Ninth Sister or Shore Trooper, to take up some of the initial damage, as the speeds on the Conquest units are pretty crazy. But once Mara Jade takes a turn, it's pretty much over from there, as once again, with the Zealous Ambition data discs, Palpatine is going to be doing a whole lot of extra damage thanks to him being a support. He does also have an AoE, which is going to kill a lot of enemies. Darth Vader is also really nice here, not being a support, but he does apply a lot of debuffs, and he has this Merciless Massacre, and if the enemy does have a lot of debuffs, you can use your Culling Blade to kill quite a few foes. Another really good pick for me is the Padme team. Once again, with the introduction of the Lightspeed bundles, Padme is very attainable to get. The main thing that happens here is when they attack out of turn, they're going to get protection up, which is going to make them very durable to a lot of different teams. They will also resist all debuffs when they do have protection up, so when they do get debuffs, Padme can just dispel it and give them protection up, which is also going to give them courage. On the start of their turn, they're going to get courage based on the protection up that they do have, which comes off of the lead right here, and then courage is going to make them deal damage equal to 40% of the target's max health per 5 stacks. And even as the nodes get harder, the 40% max health still stays, so she's going to hit hard with courage regardless of what tier you are. Once again, it can get just a little bit dicey with later tiers, but with the introduction of these Zealous Ambition data discs, since she is a support, she's going to hit very hard, as well as a few other members on this team, just like Grandmaster Yoda. This team I have had a little bit of struggle with on the later areas of Conquest, but in easy and normal mode, this team should be an absolute smash hit. I do have Marin in here, but Marin is in no way required for this team. This team can work fairly well without Marin in it for the lower levels of Conquest. Though keep in mind that getting the Zetas is quite nice and it can contribute to their later viability, but the thing about this team is, I'm talking about it a lot, but it's true. The Zealous Ambition data discs are going to give basically everyone on the team a huge boost of damage, because this team is mostly supports. And even if you can't get through them with just the raw damage, the Plague from all of their abilities is going to chew through the enemies fairly quick. Night Sister Zombie is also quite a strong tank. With the constant revives, it's going to be pumping max health to Daka, as well as pumping turn meter to Talzin if she has her Zeta. Night Sister Zombie is just going to service as such a fantastic pre-taunting tank here that it makes a lot of early teams, very early Conquest enemies, very difficult to... It makes it difficult for them to get through the team, is what I'm trying to essentially say, as when she dies, she's just going to revive immediately as long as there is another Night Sister unit, and the constant revives make them very durable to even high damage teams, so this team is very good, but they can struggle a little bit with some of the later nodes. That may just be my lack of Zetas, but keep that in mind. Though they can be used in easy and normal, pretty much without any Zetas at all, they're a pretty sweet team for Conquest. And the last team of the day is going to be the Geonosians. With the introduction of the Geonosian Lightspeed bundle, this team is very solid. They are pretty durable to high damage, as when GBA comes in and spawns his unit at the very start with the Queen's Will Zeta. Yes, this does essentially require the Queen's Will Zeta. No, I don't have it on my main, but it's a great one to consider. I don't have it because I didn't have my Geonosians farmed for a long time, but you will likely want to get it on your account. But Geonosian Brood Alpha is going to be constantly equalizing the entire team's health, which means that it makes them very durable, and you can also heal them. There's a lot of buff dispelling on this team, so you don't have to worry about too much taunt And then when an enemy has stacked up a bunch of buffs or debuffs, buffs actually, and Geonosian Spy has stacked up a lot of buffs, he's going to do a lot of damage with Silent Strike, meaning you can take out opponents, even if they are pretty high health. This team does also have a few debuff dispels. You've got a mass debuff dispel with Geonosian Brute Alpha, Mass Cleanse, as well as one on Poggle, so you've also got buff dispels on the basic of Sun Thak. Once again, picking the right data discs for Conquest is going to go a long way in contributing to your success in Conquest, so make sure you are picking the right data discs. I'll just give you a brief overview of a couple of the data discs I like to use that just work for me. Zealous Ambition is one to pick pretty much every time. It just gives your supports a huge amount of damage, making them do insane amounts of damage. Dash Rendar especially is very fantastic with this. Leader's Resolve is another great data disc, as it's going to give a bunch more max health, max protection, offense, and speed to your leader, which is pretty crucial in a lot of teams. Especially in the Padme team, where Padme is a support, and she will get a lot of extra damage due to the max health, and she'll get even more stacking offense and go quite fast and be fairly difficult to kill. Quickening I do really like. It's not as good as some other ones, but the extra speed as well as the extra evasion can prove to be quite beneficial. Protection Shield is one that I find that people underestimate a lot. I don't see a whole ton of people using it, though maybe I'm not looking in the right areas. Still, this data disc should not be overlooked. Every time an ally is getting crit, all allies are going to recover 15% protection, which is going to make your teams last a whole lot longer, and that's what enables Gas to be such a fantastic team in Conquest at the moment. I do also really like Entrenched and Heal Over Time. Heal Over Time is a little bit of a placeholder, as I don't have other quickening data discs, which I would rather use, but it is still fantastic to do. Entrenched is really nice as it gives all allies protection up, which also contributes to the Padme team, giving them the ability to resist all debuffs, as well as they can get courage off of it, but it's all in all just really good for ensuring that your teams do survive that initial onslaught. And then do keep in mind, before you head out and roast me in the comments, that this isn't necessarily a guide for hard mode Conquest. This is more of an early game Conquest guide for people who may be struggling with taking down some of those teams. Though these teams are quite good in Conquest, I do really like them, and I do use several of them very frequently. Anyways, if you would like to see other Conquest guides like this or similar content, be sure to hit the subscribe, as well as check out my Discord, where I have all sorts of ways for you to contact me about content suggestions, as well as questions, anything of the such. If you're interested in anything like that as well, just check the comments, as well as if you don't want to join the Discord but you still want to leave suggestions or anything like that, make sure to just check out the comments once again. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.